Hey everyone, welcome back to another recap podcast from SNXweave, where we give quick weekly recaps of news and important updates from the previous week from the Spartan Council and core contributors, as well as discuss what the Grants Council and ambassadors are up to, so let's get started. First up, Synthetix has just announced the addition of staked ETH, ZRX, and UMA perpetual futures markets, all now available for leverage trading via Synthetix perps. For V3, the third major upgrade to the core system was released, including SIPs 323, 326, and 331 through 335. NOAA is in the process of updating the docs to reflect these changes, and the team is now working on building a cross-chain pool synthesis proof of concept using cross-chain read oracle ERC 7412. A big part of this effort was laying out the standard in ERC 7412 to allow CCs to start building to that standard for all oracle data consumption, such as price feeds, cross-chain reads, etc. This is supplementary to CCIP, which enables protocols to call functions on other chains, whereas ERC 7412 allows an oracle to read the value of a function on another chain and report back. Basically, CCIP is a way to write across chains, and V3 needed a way to read across chains. This initiative is the next big priority after Perps v3. And speaking of Perps v3, the SIP is still in draft, and fixes from the second audit report are being finalized. The testnet trading competition is scheduled to start next week, and will likely run for several weeks. Partners are also developing front ends for the competition, as well as finalizing ERC 7412 support before full completion. The L1 Perps audit is also in progress, and protocols like Athena, a dollar-pegged stablecoin, have expressed interest in using this. In other discussion, SIP 237 for the L1 to L2 debt migration was discussed by the Spartan Council and core contributors last week. It was brought up again that there's still no UI for debt migration, and that SIP 237 just solves the problem of migrating debt positions from Ethereum mainnet to Optimism. NOAA brought up that it might be more valuable to explore front-end needs once it's clear where the liquidity in V3 is needed the most. The contract can be called an Etherscan, and it's possible that the few users that want to make use of this feature could do so without a UI. However, it's estimated that 60 to 70% of the SNX on L1 is in Gnosis safes, which are not supported by SIP 237. The consensus was that this is not a top priority right now. But while we're on the topic of migration, the Spartan Council and core contributors also discussed the V3 migration, SIP 306. Following a similar progression to the Perps v2 rollout, the plan would be to launch to mainnet with tight OI caps to watch the performance with real trades. This would put the earliest possible full-scale launch sometime in November or December. With that in mind, Arfif suggested it may be time to start thinking of a plan to incentivize stakers to make the move to V3. Part of this is likely to be a winding down of inflation rewards on V2, which will make V3 more attractive. Migrating the treasury alone should be enough to sufficiently bootstrap liquidity at launch. For a governance update, the team is finalizing the updated election system code for audit, and the SIP for the cross-chain election module, V3GM, is being drafted. There were also two SCCPs presented last week, so let's briefly review them. The first was SCCP 305, to create a pool and registered market for BetSwirl. This SIP was presented by Romuald, who met Cav at ETHCC. He presented on behalf of BetSwirl, which is an online gambling platform. BetSwirl is exploring ways to add house liquidity to their platform, and has generated $32 million in wagered volume and $990,000 in annualized fees. This SCCP proposes creating a pool that LPs could delegate to in order to earn yield. They plan to launch on Ethereum with this liquidity infusion, and in order to be competitive with other online gambling platforms, the team would like to be able to offer bigger payouts to winners. SNX LPs would be able to elect to delegate to this pool, and there would be no direct exposure to the Synthetix protocol. The next presentation was SCCP 306 to create a Quenta pool. This SCCP was presented by Jeremy and would create a Quenta pool on Synthetix v3. Quenta would like to put all of the SNX they receive from the volume program back into this pool. Long term, they want to direct Quenta perps to that pool instead of the Spartan Council pool. There was a question as to whether SNX allocated to non-Spartan Council pools would have voting power, but this was not answered on this call. Both of these SCCPs are still in draft. In Grants Council updates, the team is investigating possibly adding a default GitHub account to the SIP submission UI for people who don't have a GitHub account. Also, the v3 stats page version will be started with the devs soon, as they are just finishing their current project first. And the NFT lore writer payment is being processed, while the Grants Council works with Sunny to help them deploy the NFT website. The governance guide doc that they're working on is going well. They recently decided to add a mandate for each council, and resources have been allocated to help write Treasury Council and Spartan Council mandates and get them to sign off on them. The team is also planning on migrating the perps landing page data and information on the Watcher page. They actually have two separate teams working on the upgrades to the Watcher page at the moment. And that's it for today's updates. Be sure to check out our weekly recap blog post, share this podcast link, and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear more about from SNXweave. Thanks for listening.